Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Aquarium Online Academy. My name is Sophie, and I'm a member of our education department. And if you are watching along live with us, it is 10 a.m. on the dot, and we are located here in Long Beach, California. So that's where we are coming to you live. You are more than welcome and, in fact, encouraged to text us any questions you might have, share any observations, any questions, comments, anything you are curious about. And we have a line down here. So if you text those, we'll be able to answer them live. Either I can answer them or my friend Tiffany, who's working all the magic behind the camera, can. But that number is 562-286-1838. Again, we'll be able to answer some of those questions live that you may have. Now, if you are watching this after the fact and you still have some questions you want answered, you are more than welcome to email us at live, L-I-V-E, at lbaop.org. So again, there are two ways for you to interact with us this morning, and in fact, we encourage you to do so. Now, one of the things that we need to do this morning, especially because it is a little early, is I think it is time for us to warm up our scientist brains. Now, go ahead and think for a moment about what you think scientists do. Now, if you are in a classroom or if you are amongst peers, you are more than welcome to share it with the people around you or text that line again. But go ahead and think for a moment about things that scientists do. I know sometimes when I think about scientists, I think about maybe people running experiments, people in a lab, but also science looks very different in all sorts of aspects. So science can include making observations, science can include asking questions, and science can also include a lot of wondering. So if you are ever curious or if you've ever wondered about things, then you have already acted like a scientist before. So in order to get our scientist brains warmed up this morning, oh, hello. I am going to ask you all to take a couple of moments to make some observations about what you see going on here in this exhibit behind me. Now, unfortunately, I am not swimming around in this exhibit right now, although that would be very cool. We are seeing this exhibit through a live webcam, so that means that we have access to it, and also everybody at home has access to these webcams as well. If you go to the aquarium's website, or if you go to another website called explore.org, you can go ahead and click on these video cams and take a look at them. So I'm going to go ahead, step off screen, and I'm going to let you take a couple of moments to make some observations about some of the things you see in here. Observations can be anything. They can be colors, they can be shapes, anything you notice. And if you have some pre-existing knowledge about ocean or animals or anything that relates to this, you are more than welcome to kind of draw those similarities. If you know things about some of these animals from video games or TV shows or other things, that's good knowledge too. You can build off of that. So some things that I notice when I make some observations. I see a lot of different animals that look very different. Some of them seem to be moving the same way, but also I see a lot that are moving differently. So I noticed a lot of different animals. You may also be noticing some of those different animals too. We have some different colors, some different shapes, some different sizes. Now, you can also notice things about the habitat or the home that these animals are in. Up here near the top, it's really, really sunny. Or very light. We can probably imagine that a lot of sun is in this area. I also see a lot of rocks with some colorful corals on them too. So those are all sorts of observations that you can make. Now, the reason why I asked you to make observations about the animals in this exhibit is because a lot of places in the ocean all look a little bit different. This is just one example of a type of home or habitat in the ocean called a coral reef. And all sorts of different animals like to live on coral reefs. You have a couple different fish like the ones you see here. We see, off in the corner, I saw a little bit of a turtle behind. I hope it comes near again. We get animals like turtles, and we also have some of my favorites. We get animals like sharks living in here. Right there, we have one of our gray reef sharks swimming by. So this is one of the largest exhibits that we have here at the aquarium, home to a whole bunch of different types of animals, including a couple different species of sharks. And that is what our topic is today for our Aquarium Online Academy. We are going to be talking all about sharks. Now, today in particular, we are going to be talking about the smallest, the little itty bittiest sharks at the aquarium, all the way to the biggest ones that we have, and then maybe even exploring some of the really big ones that we don't have, but that live out in the open ocean. Now, one of the example of one of those big ones swimming by is our zebra shark right there. Now, later on in the program, we will probably have a chance to look at some zebra shark babies and compare them to the adults. But that's just one example of one of the sharks that we'll be able to take a look at today. So, before we get started talking about sharks, I kind of want to do a little comparing and contrasting between sharks and other animals like fish. So, as we see some of these fishies swimming around, we see that they have fins, we see that they have tails, and that is true about sharks as well. Sharks do have fins, sharks do have tails. Some of the things that are a little bit different about our fish versus our sharks is actually what is inside of their bodies, what makes up their skeletons. Now go ahead and think for a moment about what we have in our own bodies. What do we have inside of us that helps keeps us nice and strong and nice and sturdy? We have our skeletons. We have our backbones that help us out, and they're made out of very, very hard and dense bone. Now, if you go ahead and wiggle your ear or wiggle the tip of your nose, you'll notice that that is more flexible. It's more wiggly than like our arm bone or something. And that's because the stuff in our ears and in our nose is different than what's in the rest of our bodies. We have really hard bone throughout the rest of our bodies, but in our ear and in our nose, we have more flexible cartilage. It's a little lighter, a little squishier, and more wiggly. So the difference between sharks and rays and other fish is that fish have the really hard bones, like how we have in our arms, and sharks and rays have that flexible cartilage, like in our ears and in our noses. And one of the really cool things that I have in order to show you the difference between these as well is I actually have 2 X-rays from some animals here at the aquarium that we'll be able to take a look at. Now let me head over to my document camera and go ahead and get my little light turned on over here. Perfect. Thank you, Tiffany. So, right here, we see a type of fish called an angelfish. Now, this was something that we had to take an X-ray for here at the aquarium, and now we're lucky in the education department that we get to use these to talk about them. But here we see a whole bunch of bones going through this fish's body. We see a nice spine, we see little feathery bones going through the tail, going through some of the other parts. We see a really nice little nose right there as well, a nice little mouth. So fish have a lot more bones throughout their entirety of them. And then I can also show you right here as well if you want to see it kind of 3-dimensional and not 2D. So here we have a fish in all of its bones. Now, if we're taking a look at a shark's X-ray, it may look slightly different, and that's again because the sharks do not have as much bone as those fish do. So this is what our angelfish looks like, and now let me go ahead and put one of our bamboo sharks down so we can see it as well. So we don't really see that fanning out as much into the fins like we did on the fish. And we also see they do have a nice spinal cord. It is made out of cartilage. And then we can also see the mostly hard part they have in their bodies is their teeth and then a little bit of their jaw. But even then, they're still kind of cartilaginous. So we can see here that the body structure looks a lot different, and especially the X-ray does when we are looking at one of our sharks versus one of our fish. Now, if I turn it a little bit more this way, there we can see the rest of its tail too. Now, I'm not too sure why this shark was getting X-rays, but luckily for all the animals here at the aquarium, they do have their own animal hospital that they can go to. We have it here on site, so any animals that need any special treatment, vitamins, anything like that, they get to go to our animal hospital to be taken care of. So we're really lucky that we get to use those slides. I'm not too sure what those animals were getting X-rayed for, but it was awesome for us to see the difference between the two of them. And thank you, Tiffany, for helping me switch that back as well. So it's actually good that we started with one of our bamboo sharks because those are some of the smallest sharks that we have here at the aquarium. Oh, thank you, Tiffany, for putting these on right here. Go ahead, take a couple of moments. Just make some very quick observations about some of the sharks you see right here. Colors, shapes, movement, anything like that. And I'm going to make sure that I have my data over here so I can give you some factual information about some of these animals here at the aquarium. So if you have visited in person, or if you are looking to visit in person, one of the things that I think is very unique and makes me the most excited about Shark Lagoon and the Aquarium of the Pacific is that you can actually touch these sharks right here. They are very nice. They are about this big, and they are in one of our really warm touch pools. So I think it's very approachable because it's nice and warm. The sharks usually are just kind of hanging out. Right now, what we see them doing is probably swimming around and looking for food. Most of the time, these sharks really like to rest. If any of you out there like to nap or save their energy, yeah, just like this, you are probably just like our sharks. Most of these animals are very efficient, or they like to, let me say, maybe a little lazy. They don't really move around unless they are looking for food. So typically, when we go to touch them, you kind of see them laying just like this, all on top of each other. Now, the reason why sharks like these ones like to lay on top of each other is because they are a really small shark. These animals only get about, these ones are only getting about like 3 to 4 feet long for some of our bamboo sharks and epaulet sharks here at the aquarium. So these ones aren't getting super, super big. They kind of just get kind of long, not super big. But one of the really cool things that people ask when they go and look at these sharks is if they are fully grown. Because we typically, when we think of sharks, we think of these really, really big ones like the white shark or the whale shark or others. But in reality, there are a lot of small sharks that exist in our oceans as well. And these brown-banded bamboo sharks are one example of them. Now, Tiff, if we do have any of our epaulet shark pictures or footage, I would love to bring those up because they do live alongside. Here, let me move over so I can talk about the point I want to. Yeah, it's a cute little baby that we have right here. I don't even know how big this one is, but it was probably very tiny when the photo was taken. But does anything on the shark, like in this area, kind of stand out to you? Does it look like it has a really big kind of eyeball in the middle of its body? If you are answering kind of yes, or if you are observing the same thing, congrats for noticing that. What's really awesome about these epaulet sharks, and something that a lot of my peers say they really like about them, is that they are kind of like tricksters and magicians. Having that big black spot on their bodies makes it look like they have another eyeball, and it actually makes it look like they are a much larger shark than they are. So that means that maybe potential predators may not want to mess with them. It also means that other animals may kind of move away since they think they have a big eyeball, but that's something that helps those animals out, is having that false eye spot or a fake eyeball. Now, something else that everybody, when I talk to, says they really love about epaulet sharks is if you take a look at these tiny, tiny, tiny little feet, or not little feet, little flippers right here. Epaulet sharks, believe it or not, are actually able to walk both in water and out of water a little bit using those little side pectoral fins that they have. They're a little more rounded than some other sharks. Some sharks usually have kind of like triangular shaped fins. You'll notice that these ones are more round, and so they can use them almost like, if you're familiar with mud skippers, kind of like mud skippers, they move their little pectorals just a tiny bit, and that's how they're able to walk not only in the water on the bottom of the ocean, but also on land if they accidentally get stuck at low tide. Some different animals, depending on the area that they live in, have really cool adaptations or special things to help them out. And for the epaulet sharks, being able to walk, kind of crawl, and also having that false eye spot, that big black spot, are both very good examples of adaptations that they have. Now, both the brown-banded bamboo shark and the epaulet shark, unfortunately, are not native to our coast here in Southern California. They can typically be found in more tropical areas that are closer to the equator, closer to the center of the earth, and that means they get more sunlight year-round and a little more warmth. So these animals are from a nice, bright, and sunny area, and that's what they like to live in. Now, when it comes to the next smallest shark here at the aquarium, we're gonna have to go more local, and that's not like a bad thing at all. I really appreciate the local sharks that we have. But the next shark size that I kind of want to grow up into, as we're talking about here at the aquarium, is our leopard shark. Now, these ones are gorgeous. They inhabit our kelp forests. You can find them in shallow coastal areas. I've actually gone swimming with them off of the La Jolla coast because a lot of them show up there in the summer, and they are super, super chill sharks. Now, go ahead, take a couple of moments. What are some things that are different about the shark coloration we see here than the other ones we saw? Or what are some things that are maybe the same about some other sharks that you see? Now, one of the things that I notice, because I'm a big shark fan and I tend to look at them often, is that the leopard shark has kind of like, I don't want to say traditional shark shape, but it kind of has a pretty common shape to it. Some different types of sharks may be more flat on the bottom. The leopard shark is a little flat. Our zebra sharks are very flat, but other animals like, maybe like this shark right here, they're a little more triangular throughout their whole body, almost like a torpedo or like those toys that you can throw in the pool. Oh, yeah, just like that. Our great white is super, super triangular. So that shape that you see on a shark, it's very special to their body, and it is called fusiform. And I think the leopard shark is a good example of a small shark that still has that nice triangular shaped body. Now, the leopard shark is honestly kind of all triangles, except for the pattern it has on it, but most of its body is pretty triangular, including its face or its snout. It has a very shovel kind of like nose, and that's very good because they're not super big sharks. They're not really eating giant pieces of fish, they're definitely not eating whales, but having that shovel-like nose is perfect because it means they can go dig around in the sand and then slurp up anything they find. Now, you may be wondering, well, what's living in the sand at the bottom of the ocean? Well, there are things like crabs, maybe little clams, maybe worms, maybe small stuff, or maybe like half-eaten pieces of larger animals. And that is exactly what the leopard sharks are looking for. They don't have super giant teeth to take big bites out of things. They kind of go around slurping things up off the bottom and then also using their teeth to kind of crunch anything hard they may have. So they don't have super giant teeth, but they also don't have super flat teeth. So they're really good at going around and looking for stuff on the bottom of the ocean. Now, the reason why they are called leopard sharks is because that pattern they have is very, very cat-like. They look like some of our big cats, and that is where we get a lot of our inspiration from. When naming animals, sometimes we look to other animals to name them as well. Like you might have heard me call an animal a zebra shark. We have tiger sharks. We have bull sharks. And those are all other animals that exist on land too. So the leopard is one of my local favorites. You can find these ones here in Southern California, and they are very cool. If you ever get the opportunity to snorkel or dive with them, I definitely recommend it because they are gorgeous, gorgeous little animals. Okay, I think for the next size, I think we can skip over our horn shark friend because we have a horn shark here at the aquarium, but it likes to hide a lot, which some horn sharks do. Oh, here, let me go this way and we can see its little face. So horn sharks are another local species here in Southern California, and because they're kind of small, they have a little horn that sticks out right in front of their fins so that if anybody tries to eat them, they're going to kind of get poked in the mouth. So these are a local species. We also have them on exhibit, but they are very, very good at hiding, and it is always a big deal whenever the horn shark is swimming around. But another little cute shark here in Southern California. Okay, I think for our next shark size, yes, I think we are going back to our black tip reef shark. Now, very quickly, let me go ahead and give you some information about our leopard. They can get about 6 feet long. Not super, super big, but about 6 feet long, so a little taller than me. Okay, now we have our black tip reef shark, a more kind of medium-sized shark. Now, what are some observations you have about our black tip reef shark? Are there things that are different, things are the same about some of the other animals? I know for me, when I look at the black tip, again, I see that really nice fusiform shape, that very nice triangular shape. They have all sorts of those triangular fins all over them as well. And then something that's really unique to these animals is that characteristic black marking on the tips of their fins. The reason why these ones are called black tips is because of that coloring that they have up there on the top. Now, for some black tip reef sharks, like I said, they're kind of the more medium sized. There can always be exceptions. They can always go either shorter or longer, but typically they're kind of in the middle. Now, what's different about black tip reef sharks compared to some of our other sharks that we have talked about today is black tip reef sharks, unfortunately, aren't a type of shark that get to rest or get to kind of lay down and take some time to get their energy again. Black tip reef sharks have to keep swimming in order to breathe. Luckily for us, we can breathe kind of automatically without having to think about it, and also we can do it manually. So everybody take a big breath in. Big breath out. We use our pulmonary system, we use our lungs, we use our nose, we use our mouth. Those are all connected. But for sharks, their mouth and their nose and their breathing system isn't really connected like how ours is. So in order for sharks to keep breathing, they have to keep having water moving over their gills. Some sharks have something that moves water over their gills for them, so they get to kind of snooze. But black tip reef sharks have to keep swimming in order for the water to pass over their gills. Now, speaking of animals that it looks like was just getting a big breath of air, it looks like one of our turtles just popped one of its flippers up in the corner. And since those are animals that are reptiles, they will need to be breathing in air as well. So for black tip reef sharks, again, have to keep swimming in order to breathe. They are kind of on the more medium sized, and then these are ones that we also find in tropical. Now, when I am talking about the sharks here in Shark Lagoon, one of the animals that is typically really easy to point out is the black tip. And then the one that is the second easiest to point out is our zebra shark. And the reason why the zebra sharks are really easy to point out is because they have very, very long tails and they are the biggest sharks. Now, go ahead. Same thing. What are some things that are different between this shark and some of the other ones we just looked at? The coloration can be very, very different. Its body shape can look a lot different. It's definitely more round towards the front of it. Now, with zebra sharks, they are animals that will spend more time just resting on the bottom of their sandy habitat. So they have, just like that, very flat bottoms so that they can lay comfortably. And they also have that little hole right behind their eyes called a spiracle. And what the spiracle is doing is it is pumping water over the gills. So the gills are moving right there, and that spiracle is help moving water over the gills so that the zebra shark does not have to keep swimming in order to breathe. That's why it's just kind of resting right here. You can also see in this video, it has a tiny, tiny little mouth. Even though it's a big shark, it's not really eating big things. These animals really love to go around and slurp up anything they can find off the ocean floor. They may not be digging around as much in the sand as a leopard shark, but they have the perfect mouth for just kind of slurping up different food. They also have teeth that are perfect for that as well. And they have some teeth. Oh, there we go. Really flat. This is the size of their mouth, but you can see it right there. Really small little teeth. This means that they can get maybe grip on, but it also was not taking big ripping bites out of things, but definitely can grab a shrimp or maybe some, like a half-eaten piece of something else. Now we get a really good view of also, you see something that may look kind of like whiskers, and that's because some sharks and also different species of fish will have those little kind of barbells right there, almost like whiskers. They can help them additionally sense some things in the water. So with our zebra sharks, this one looks more like a zebra. It has stripes up and down, but as they get bigger, those stripes kind of turn into dots, and then they end up looking like this. But zebra sharks are very cool, very big animals, and yes, something we were waiting to show the whole time is our baby zebra sharks. We were really excited a couple of years ago when we got some little babies here at the aquarium. They have grown in the couple of years since they've been here, but when we first got them, these little guys and little girl had stripes up and down just like a zebra. But then as they get a little bigger, you can see that those stripes turn into the dots you see right here. Now you also see them being not hand fed, but it looks like they're being fed a little bit of shrimp. Now that's something else that we also do is we keep track of all of what these animals are eating to make sure they are getting all the nutrition and everything they need. Now, I think we have time to explore maybe one more really big shark that we get off of our coast here in Southern California, and that is this big guy over here. So this is a white shark. Now, you've also might have heard them known as great white sharks. However, I think, and I've heard other people say that all sharks are great, so we don't want to just leave this one to be the great one. So we call it a white shark because all sharks are pretty great. But white sharks are incredibly awesome predators and just awesome animals that we get here off of our coast in Southern California. Now, unfortunately, we don't have one here at the aquarium because they need a lot of space and a lot of food. But these animals can get up to about 21 feet long is the average. Sometimes they can get longer, sometimes they'll be smaller. When they are juveniles or when they are babies, they are about 5 to 6 feet long. So when baby great white sharks are first born, they are probably about my size. I'm about like 5'4" and something. So most great whites are probably about my size when they are first born. But then they grow a lot over the years as they mature. Now, with great whites, sometimes these are animals that we tend to be a little afraid of or maybe a little hesitant, and that's totally cool. But instead of being fearful of these animals, I recommend learning more about them. Sometimes we can be scared of things because we don't really know too much about animals. I mean, when we see teeth, we see big things, your instincts will kick in. But I encourage you to find some things that you like about some of these animals to help you learn a little bit more about them if you're interested in them. This is some things that have helped me with these animals, and this is also stuff I like to talk about when I'm doing programs like this or teaching about them. So something that I thought was very cool about great whites and that made me appreciate them a lot is that when great whites are adults, they are eating much bigger things. They're eating mammals, they're eating seals, sea lions, sometimes they are eating whales that have passed away. But when great whites are first born, they are not eating seals and sea lions. They are eating fish, they are eating rays, they are eating other small sharks. And then as they get older, they will slowly grow to eat more food, but they have to practice being able to catch seals and sea lions. It doesn't come the first try, it doesn't come the second try. These animals have to be able to kind of not develop it, but it takes a certain skill to be able to hunt seals and sea lions, and these animals have to practice it. And they don't really have a mother shark or a father shark showing them how to do it. They just kind of have to figure it out on their own. So that's something I think is very cool about great white sharks, is that yes, they are born at a really cool size, but they still have a lot to work on before they end up those top predators that they are. And we're really lucky that here in Southern California, there is a lot of research being done with these animals to see how they're hanging out on our coast and also where they might be going as well. So we're really lucky that we're kind of being able to see what's going on with these animals here locally in Southern California. So that is one of the coolest, I say, sharks we have off of our coast, and obviously one of the biggest as well. We don't really have them here at the aquarium, but if you are lucky, maybe you'll get to go diving like some of our divers here at the aquarium, and you'll have the chance to see these animals out in their natural habitat. So those are our shark sizes, from small ones to big ones here at the aquarium and also off of our coast here in Southern California. Oh yeah, I can't end without the biggest one, our whale shark. These ones we get every now and then if we have any strange weather patterns going on, but typically they can be found in more tropical places as well. Now, if you do have any questions or any comments or anything you would like to know more about, more than welcome to text that line right now. Again, 562-286-1838. And I'm going to check in with Tiffany to see if we have any questions or anything anybody wants to know about our sharkies. Oh, okay. No worries. Well, if you are watching after the fact and you want to email us, if you have more shark questions, more resources, anything like that, a couple of places I encourage you to check out. I encourage you to check out our aquarium's website, any other aquarium's websites. If you are interested in great white sharks here in Southern California, you can check out the Cal State Long Beach Shark Lab for more information and more research on that. And also, If you want to be directed to some of those resources, more than welcome to let us know right here at live at lbaop.org. One of these days, I will be a lot better at pointing at the things down here. So that is it for our Aquarium Online Academy for us today. Thank you for joining. I hope you had a great time learning about sharks, the smallest to some of the biggest. Again, if you have more questions, let us know. But if not, thanks for exploring with us today and have a great rest of your day.